Welcome to the Azure Bootcamp. This week we are talking about disaster recovery. What is disaster recovery? We lifted this description directly from Wikipedia because it's such a huge topic. But for the scope of this presentation, we're going to limit it a little bit. We're talking about the tools and procedures and all the methodologies behind recovering IT systems. It's really kind of a subset of business continuity and your continuity plan. So let's talk about the technology behind that.
One of the challenges that go along with disaster recovery is the planning and processes that a company has to do in order to plan for the actual rollout. Inventorying all the existing servers, all the databases, which one are mission critical, which one aren't, where are you going to pick your disaster recovery site? All of that has to be a planned process, and we found that less than half of the companies out there really are willing to go into that process to do that. So half of the downtime is due to hardware or software failure during the disaster recovery. I mean, just look at what we recently experienced in Texas with Harvey. Many companies hadn't planned for a 1,000-year flood. And so what were the consequences of that? They were down and many companies went out of business. 3 out of every 4 firms are at risk for disaster recovery in case something does happen. I've had many experiences even when a company had a very well thought out process or plan for disaster recovery, it didn't go the way that they wanted it to go. And the cost of downtime of a poorly planned disaster recovery or no disaster recovery is planned between $1.25 to $2.5 billion a year due to lost downtime, not to mention the number of companies that have simply just gone out of business because they didn't plan.
So how can you use Azure for your disaster recovery solution? You really want to kind of look at the Azure Site Recovery or Site Recovery components that are available within Microsoft's suite of products. Really what this does is it works with vCenter, VMware, bare metal operating systems to provide disaster recovery failover inside of Azure. It supports pretty much almost every operating system and every configuration you can think of. There are some corner cases and some newer operating systems that aren't quite supported yet, but there's workarounds for that. But the power of Azure Site Recovery, it automates the mirroring and the failover and all the other kind of disaster recovery components that come with your plan. Kind of extending it to Azure is quite simple. You're able to kind of set up a set of scripts and procedures and events that say, hey, when or how can you fail over using Azure? Some more information about site recovery. It really kind of provides, protection across all your platform. It really, it's going to increase your RPO and RTO metrics tremendously because you're using the power of the platform and the automation of the scripts behind it. You're able to kind of test your disaster recovery and failover, and through this methodology, you're protecting your mission critical applications. Some lessons learned that you really want to think about disaster recovery, and it's such a big topic, but just concise things to share with you. Really kind of, when you're using the Azure Site Recovery, it's going to give you some estimates. Plan for at least double that bandwidth. I mean, it really uses a lot more because of, snapshots in time and those types of things. So just plan for more. Plan your test failback. I mean, these tools are really good at flipping over to the cloud. Make sure you're able to roll back gracefully as well. We've seen a couple of times where people fell over the cloud, but necessarily coming back from a technology standpoint is a little bit more difficult. So to plan that, it's better, and it's going to work out when this thing goes live. Involve your whole organization. As you know, everybody's using these technology systems now. Let the product leaders and business leaders be a part of the planning and the testing to make sure everything's working correctly. And something to note, I guess with Azure in general and the cloud, it's changing often. There's new opportunities available for disaster recovery and availability. So keep on top of that as much as you can.